Ladies and gentlemen, the North Ridgeville City Council meeting is now in session. Today is Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. Please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together, and we ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin our meeting. Help us engage in meaningful conversation, allowing us to be the leaders we were elected to be. We ask you to bless our meeting this evening, all those present, and the lives we encounter each day. We ask these things in your name, amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Lynn. Here. Booth.
Here.
Havens.
Here.
Winkle.
Here.
Haywood. Here. DeVries.
Here.
Jacob.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
Service Director.
Is Bonneville.
Law Director.
Here.
Engineer.
Here.
Auditor. Here. Clerk of Council. Here.
Okay, tonight we have before us the City Council meeting minutes dated February 7th, 2022. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes at this time? Hearing none, those minutes are approved as submitted. Please note, we also have before us this evening the Records Commission meeting minutes dated December 15th, 2021, the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes dated January 26th, 2022, and the Planning Commission meeting minutes dated February 8th, 2022. That brings us to our lobby session. At this time, as always, we would like to open up the lobby session to allow the public an opportunity to address City Council and or City Administration. Anybody who wishes to speak, we ask that you speak from the podium only, and that you begin by stating your name and address for the record. At that time, you'd be given 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes to speak about any topic related to the business of City Council or the general affairs of the city. This time, is there anybody who wishes to address council this evening? Again, if you could just start by stating your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Kiefer, 5848 Creekside Lane, Mills Creek. First thing that I wanted to find out is, are we going to get our road street paved this year? It's in pretty bad shape. And secondly, I found out through a neighbor a day ago or so, somebody was walking through our woods in the back, and he happened to be looking at the trees and so forth. So I guess I understand that there's going to be an expansion to the retention pond back there that we didn't know anything about. So our neighbors, I'm kind of talking for them this evening also, are kind of concerned about what's going to go on back there to the value of our property. And they said, the guy that we talked to said that there were going to be probably 17 acres of trees removed. And then what's that retention pond going to be? So I guess that's my big question. And I guess my one neighbor contacted the engineer, and there is already a map that has been drawn out regarding that. And in fact, he texted me the pictures and everything like that. So I was wondering if that's gone already a done deal, or is it going to committee, or we want information on, I guess. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comments? We can talk. Okay.
No, right now. While we do come into the session. If you want to hang out, we'll when we go to executive session, our engineer Dan will talk to you about that.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks. Is there anybody else with us this evening who wishes to speak? Okay.
If I may, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. My name is Michael Murray. I live at 6760 Their Nagle Road. Rich down here. And I've lived there for most of my life. I took an absence for a while and I came back home to take care of mom and dad. Well, they're gone now. This is now my property. And I'm quite concerned over the flooding issues. And I understand the former speaker's concerns over the retention basin that's planned to help alleviate the flooding. And it seems to me like this is kind of a poor way of engineering to start doing things, it seems like after the fact. These flooding issues need to be addressed if I'm to sell my property. I have to state the facts. My property floods, and it never used to. This is effectively degrading the value of my property. It's destroying my property. My driveway bridge is destroyed. I'm gonna have to pay for a replacement, $30,000 for no fault of my own. This is all due to flooding issues that came up because of the widening of Lernagle Road and all of the other highways that have decided to inject their flood water into a convenient creek, rather than effectively and properly dumping this water in storm sewers to a retention basin when these were built and designed. I just like to know what the status is of this, and is it going to be corrected soon? I'm going to have to repair this bridge, or I won't be able to put my car in the garage. Further devaluing my property. And yet my taxes keep going up. This is, it's a common gripe of every homeowner. Really like to see what is being done about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Anybody else who wishes to speak this evening? Okay, we'll move on to administrative reports, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you haven't heard already, Route Road is going to close at the railroad tracks tomorrow at 7 a.m. and it is going to reopen at approximately 3 p.m. That information has made its way out there in several different ways and means over the last few days, but it'll be closed, so don't go that way. Friday, we have the State of North Ridgeville occurring at the Academic Center. That event starts at 11:30 a.m. and it is put on by the North Ridgeville Chamber of Commerce. You'll get to hear both myself and the superintendent talk about what's going on in the state, city, and the schools. And then finally, well, not really finally, but I have on here March 5th, the North Ridgeville Parks and Recreation Department is having a jobs fair. So anybody who's looking for a summer job, come on by here in council chambers on March 5th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and sign up for one of those jobs. They are limited. You have to be 15 years old to apply. Some of those jobs require you to be 18. Work includes nights, weekends, and holidays, as would be expected for a summer position, but they include jobs such as laborer, T-ball and coach pitch umpires, summer camp, counselors, concession manager, concession staff, and office intern. So all those will be available. You can find out more on our website at nridgeville.org/parks and rec. Or you can stop by the Park and Rec office to find out more, but the job fair is on March 5th, which is a Saturday. At this point, Mr. President, I would like to go into a branding session where we have our Guide Studio representative here to talk to us about that effort that we've gone through. And here we go.
Yeah, we're excited to hear and see what you guys have been working on.
Thank you for letting me join you tonight. We have had the pleasure of working with the city and community stakeholders since October. During that time, I'll go through the presentation to you, sort of talk through exactly what we've done. But it's actually been pretty exciting for me. I grew up in Elyria, so not North Ridgeville, but my parents did live here for several years. And so it was exciting for me to come back and actually see all the changes that have happened to the city. And that is often the precipice for why a city might go through a branding exercise. So I'm hoping to kind of discuss with you a little bit, what we mean by branding exercise and what that all entails. So most of the time, I think most of you are aware that logos are usually associated with brands, but for us, it is more than that. It's really the symbolic embodiment of all the information that is connected to a place. So it's the associations people have, the perceptions they have, even the memories that they have of a place are all related to the brand. Or the image of a place. But the brand is actually a tool that a business or an organization such as a municipality has to manage and control that image and reputation. So the work that we're doing here is not simply the creation of a new logo, but it's helping the organization understand how you tell the story of North Ridgeville. So as we met with the group, the first thing we often do is to create a series of objectives. Like, why are we doing this, and what is the end goal for this work? The first piece of this was to bring consistency to brand elements used by the city departments. I believe we came out here back in March, beginning of March 2020. I think a week before everything shut down. And the first thing that happened in the meeting was all the people from the various departments sat down and they passed out their business cards, and every single business card had a different look or a different logo or a different mark on it. And that's a real simple, piece, but sometimes that consistency is really critical. It's critical in the environment. So when people see city signage, at your parks or your city buildings or any of your facilities or even the gateways, it's really important that they have consistency so people know, where they are and what they're getting from a community. It stands for a sense of quality. So through this process, we started with doing an audit of what your current, brand or image is. So we looked at your website, we looked at materials that were collected by city staff. Just to understand sort of what you've been doing and what you have in place at the moment. We also did a series of discovery workshops. We started with a steering committee. This group was a pretty critical group to this entire process. We have a few members here. One of your councilmen was on the steering committee, and we have another member over here who had joined us. And this group was with us for the discovery so that we could hear from them. How they felt and how they perceived the community in which they live and work in. They also were there when we presented parts of what we call the brand strategy, as well as the different identity options that we provided. And they were also the group that helped kind of focus in on one direction that we will share with you tonight. We also held a really well-attended discovery session with a larger group of stakeholders within the community. It was actually pretty exciting for us because after a good year and a half of not being able to meet in person, it was pretty impressive the number of people who showed up and attended this meeting, but it allowed us to hear more voices in the process so that we were getting as much information from the people within the community so that we could articulate your story in the proper way. When we were holding those discovery sessions, we also did a tour of North Ridgeville. Other members of my team weren't as familiar, but it was even interesting for me because my association with it was not as broad as the entire city. So it was interesting for us to see the city itself. And after all of those discovery sessions, we create something, it's a discovery report and what we call the brand strategy platform. This is really where we begin to articulate the story of North Ridgeville. We identify the things that are your key differentiators. We help you have a better understanding of your audiences, and we create something called a position statement, which I will share tonight, that helps articulate what it is you offer the people of your community and the end benefits they get from being a part of North Ridgeville. Once that is crafted, we put together a public survey because we want to hear from the public to make sure that the things that we interpreted in that brand strategy actually hold true. So we presented the public survey, and I've told the steering committee, we work with a lot of cities. It's the majority of the work that we do when it comes to branding and placemaking. And we had the most survey responses for a brand survey from the city of North Ridgeville compared to cities that are even significantly larger than your city. So you should pat yourself on the back that everybody was invested enough to respond to the survey. So some of the pieces of the brand strategy, as I mentioned before, was identifying your distinct advantages. These are the things that you want to be known for. And there were three that really rose to the top during all of our sessions and meetings with everybody here. And I will read some of these to you because I'm sure you can't see them, but the first one was embracing our roots. We know where we came from and still live by that pioneering spirit. We are scrappy, hardworking, and resourceful, evidenced in our locally owned small businesses, innovative light industry, and of course, our pockets of farming and agriculture. We understand that while time and circumstance may change, we will always work together to adapt and grow. The second one is caring is in our DNA. We are a true community that embraces and supports our neighbors. Our city services never sleep, keeping our neighborhoods safe and secure. We are quick to help those in need, from our elder community to those folks struggling to make ends meet. Our schools and faith-based organizations foster environments of lifelong learning that inspire all generations to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. In the survey, that was the one that rose to the top by a very large amount. And then almost everything we need. So the essentials are all here. Diverse housing options, convenient services and amenities, beautiful parks and great schools. For whatever else you need, our ideal location nestled between regional roadways lets you reach shopping, the excitement of downtown, or even an escape to anywhere in the world with ease. You might not find everything you want here, but you don't have to deal with the traffic and congestion you'd have if you could. So that's addressing the fact that a lot of the shopping you have may not be in the city of North Ridgeville, but it is very close in proximity. So once we identify those pieces, we'd like to create something we call a positioning statement. This is really an internal statement for the municipal organization, for city council to really think about who you are as a community, so that all of you can be on the same page in terms of the story that you're telling. North Ridgeville is a proactive and supportive community that creates a city that feels like home. Residents enjoy outstanding services and educational opportunities, abundant housing choices, and love to support a unique collection of small businesses, all within a conveniently located and picturesque landscape. So as you see, a lot of those pieces and those things that were identified in this one statement were things that were identified in those distinctive actions as well. And overwhelmingly, what we heard from the stakeholders and members of the steering committee and the survey respondents was that North Ridgeville feels like home. The next exercise that we go through is to really understand a little bit of the personality of the city. This is really critical as we move into more of the visual aspects of brand. So the large red circles were the things that we heard a lot of. So growing, friendly, comfortable, rooted, and positive. Overwhelmingly, the personality words were very positive. When we do this exercise with other cities, we always say, it's okay to have some negative personality qualities, we all do. But overwhelmingly, they were all positive, and incredibly during the session, everybody came up with almost a different word. Typically, we hear a lot of the same words coming through, but everyone seemed to come up with a different word that meant the same thing. So it was interesting from there, but these were the ones that everybody felt the strongest about, and in the surveys as well. So all of this also comes together in creating the logo and brand look and feel. This is the thing that's going to help you look consistent, as well as being able to tell your consistent story. So for the city of North Ridgeville, we created what we call a word mark. This word mark seeks to capture the character and qualities that make North Ridgeville feel like home. Both strong and soft, the primary script typeface here forms a welcoming arc, giving it a friendly, positive feel. The type is underscored and supported by a strong baseline that represents growth and stability. The two main elements portray connection in the community and a feeling of safety and warmth. In this option, we gave prominence to Ridgeville over City of North to better represent how the community refers to itself, which happened often in our session, as people refer to it as Ridgeville. The optional established date, along with the styling of the mark, acknowledges the long history of the city. So if you want to go through. So as part of this, it's not just the mark that makes your brand, but it's all the elements that go along with it, including color palette, including typefaces and type styles. And all of this will be pulled together into a brand style guide that will help the city administration utilize the visual brand in all of their materials. And it's important to us, especially for a city, that we have an identity or a mark that can be used in multiple ways. So we recognize the fact that we're providing a logo mark instead of an icon or something that's singularly representing the community. But that doesn't mean that you can't have those things as part of the family of your brand. So, one, we need to know that when shrunk down, it feels right and it still works, that you can create smaller icons like the R and the circle for things like social media, because it's a necessity now, but also that you can create what we call advantage badges. And this could be something that you grow in the city. It doesn't have to be these 3 marks, but that you can create additional icons to tell other parts of your story that still fit within your brand. And then the following pages is just showing you how this brand, to form that consistency, to form that unique identity across the board, how it can be used on a variety of materials, because it's really important for a city to be able to use this in a variety of ways.
Well, thank you very much. We have the opportunity for questions, or I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, we could. Yeah. Let me just say, first of all, thank you to Kathy and her team at God Studio. We're not done with this process, but we're at the point where we're able to publicly disclose some of the information. There's still the implementation of it and how it'll all work. As Kathy mentioned, there's a style guide that'll be presented to us, but there were a lot of people involved in this process. A really interesting cross section of the community. As she pointed out, the survey responses were ridiculously large in number.
Lots to go through.
Yeah, from their perspective, it was a stunning amount. So that was a great thing to show that the community is really invested in what's going on. And so I think that what they've done so far has really captured where we are and where we came from and where we're going to be going into the future. And I think that was the whole idea of the exercise from the beginning, was to help establish those types of things and how we can then use it in the future to better ourselves and to create an image not only internally for ourselves and for our residents, but also to the outside world as well when we're doing things like economic development. So it's been a great exercise so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Any council members have any questions?
Mr. President. So what comes next? I guess would be a good question to ask.
Yeah, well, everything from simple things like letterhead, if we want to. We need to create some consistency. There was a lot of discussion with the department heads who sat through this presentation on Friday. The simple thing, as Kathy pointed out, the very first time that we met her a couple of years ago, when everybody put their business card on the table and every single one was different from the others. I mean, we don't even have any consistency internally, and this is part of what we'll start to do now, is we will, start to have some consistency in everything that we do, forms that go out, business cards that go out,
presentations that go out, newsletters, like all of it will start to look somewhat similar. So when you look at it, no matter which department it might come from, you'll know that it's coming from the city of North Ridgeville. Right now, sometimes that's a little iffy. You know, but that's far reaching. I'm just covering one topic with communications, but you know, it goes to you know, signs on our buildings, gateway signs, you know, entrances and exits to the city, like all of that will start to change and move towards this new style and brand that we're developing. So it will be a long process. It won't be something that you'll see change overnight. I mean, first of all, it does cost some money, so we do have to work our way into it. But you know, it's a lot, and we'll get there. But it will also more than likely dictate some kind of change to our city's website. You know, like I could keep going on and on. I'll stop there, but those are just parts of what we're going to be doing.
And that meeting that we had on Friday with the department heads was really the start of creating what we call an implementation plan. It's really to help the city understand, you know, what are the areas of priority, what are some low-hanging fruit that can be quickly implemented and really cost-effective. That implementation plan will have like budgets allotted to doing some of this work and helping the city to understand how this can be implemented over time. And I think the critical thing about understanding the need for consistency, especially across departments, is that there's, you know, while people internally are creating these things for you, they are taking time to do that. And they're creating new and different things, and that's time and additional money. And when you can have these consistent templates and things in place, then they can be focusing their efforts on other things instead of recreating templates over and over and over again. So it really is, while there's an investment up front, it's really meant to be a cost-effective move. And a move to help you go really solidify and hold the city's image at an elevated level.
Are there any other questions this time? All right, well, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Certainly seems like it was a very thorough process and well thought out. Excited to see the implementation.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. President, I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the sale or purchase of public land and also to discuss potential litigation.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Swem to go into executive session to discuss the sale and or purchase of land as well as discussion of litigation. Please call the roll.
Swain,
Yes.
Luce,
Yes.
Aben,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Aywick,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacob.
Yes.
Okay.
This time we will adjourn to executive session.
He'll be right up.
All right, folks, thank you for your patience. Mr. Mayor,
That's the end of my report. Thank you very much.
all right. Mr. Engineer.
Thank you, Council President. Find my chicken scratch here for a second. All right, okay. Just want to give a small update on the Center Ridge Sewer Project. As you know, we've had a snowstorm, a rainstorm, a snowstorm, and another rainstorm. So we're moving a little bit behind over the last 2 weeks. So they did make some progress today, cleaning up some messes that happened last week. So hopefully we'll get a few pieces of pipe in the ground this week and be looking to make a turn into some quicker movements next week. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Very good, thank you. Auditor.
Thank you, Council President. Before council tonight is T36, which is a resolution to authorize the execution of then and now certificates. I'd like to ask council to consider passing this legislation tonight with the emergency clause to allow these obligations to be paid. And that concludes my report.
Under other reports, we have the January 2022 Mayor's Court Report, the January 2022 EPA and Water Distribution Report, as well as the January 2022 Police Department Report. Moving on, I think we're up to new business at this point.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Havens.
I did receive a letter of resignation from Mr. McCool for the Board of Drainage and Flood Control.
Okay.
And I'd like to motion to approve a Mr. Norris Scott as his replacement for Ward 3.
It was moved by Havens and seconded by Winkle to appoint Norris Scott as the Board of Drainage and Flood Control Ward 3 representative. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Okay, Mr. Scott has officially been appointed. We thank him as well as Mr. McCool for their willingness to serve. That will bring us to the recess portion of our meeting.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Winkle.
move to dispense with recess.
Second.
It was moved by Winkle, seconded by Swank to dispense with recess. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. All right, we will skip past recess and move on to first readings. Clerk, please read T31.
T31, 2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Phoebes Ventures Towing Inc. for the purchase of the parcel of vacant land in the amount of $367,500 plus $2,234.05 for payment of the 2021 real estate taxes and any additional costs such as customary closing costs.
T32.
T32, 2022, an ordinance amending the NRCO section 1044.01 user charges sewer by adding a subsection entitled billing correction.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Quinn.
if I can ask the mayor, is this time sensitive?
Well, we would like to have all these passed as soon as possible, but I do not believe we need the emergency today.
T33.
T33, 2022, an ordinance amending NRCO section 1058.11 billing and correction, stormwater, by adding subsection entitled billing correction.
T34.
T34, 2022, an ordinance amending NRCO chapter 1060, garbage and refuse collection and disposal, by adding a section entitled billing correction.
T35.
T 2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to purchase ultrasonic water meters and appurtenances from Badger Meter Inc. not to exceed $400,000 for the calendar year 2022.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings for T35.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Booth to dispense with the second and third readings for T35. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause. The reason being, this is an annual purchase of water meters that we do. We have discussed this at appropriations and during the budget negotiations. It is also timely in the sense that by the end of the month, those prices are going to go up for the water meters. And since we've discussed this extensively, set aside the money for it, there's no sense us paying additional money for the same way.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor, seconded by Booth to add the emergency clause to T35 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Booth to adopt T35 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swing,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Avon,
Yes.
Winkel,
Yes.
Awig. Yes. DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously and becomes 5909, 2022.
T36.
T 2022, a resolution to authorize the execution of then and now certificates by the fiscal officer and the payment of amounts due for various purchase orders.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Booth.
make a motion to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by Booth, seconded by DeVries to dispense with the second and third readings for T36. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no.
Mr. President, make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, make a motion to add the emergency so that we can provide the auditor's office with the necessary resources to pay these bills.
Second.
It was moved by Booth, seconded by DeVries to add the emergency clause to T36 for the reasons stated by Mr. DeVries. On that emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by Booth and seconded by DeVries to adopt T36 with that emergency clause in place. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swing,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Avon,
Yes.
Winkel,
Yes.
Awig. Yes. DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
The resolution passes unanimously and becomes 1557, 2022.
T37.
T 2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law for the professional services for the Sugar Ridge Road Rehabilitation Project in an amount not to exceed $80,000.
On to second readings now. Starting with T16.
T 2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into contracts according to law and in a manner prescribed by law with the lowest and best bidders for the Sugar Ridge Road sanitary sewer extension, including associated work and inspection services in an amount not to exceed $3,150,000.
T19.
T 2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into contract for the sale of real property located on Center Ridge Road.
T20.
T 2022, An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law for professional services for the Mills Road, Jaycox Road sanitary sewer improvement project in an amount not to exceed $180,000.
T22.
T 2022, an ordinance retroactively approving a contract that was entered into between the city of North Ridgeville and Invoice Cloud Inc. for payment of utility bills.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the third reading.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to dispense with the third reading for T22. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause so that way we can continue to operate in a legal manner.
Second.
Okay. It was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to add the emergency clause to T22 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On that emergency clause alone, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to adopt T22 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swain,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Aiden,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacob.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously and becomes 59-10-2022.
T23.
T 2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Ridgeville, Ohio, to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for a 12-month period according to law and in a manner prescribed by law for the purchase of chemicals to be used by French Creek wastewater treatment plant.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
just for
Reeves.
the record, that was actually T 23-2022.
Yes, T23. Okay, T24.
2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law for the lowest and best bidder for the 2022 crack seal project and other appurtenances not to exceed $100,000.
T29.
T 2022, an ordinance accepting certain street improvements located in Cross Creek subdivision and dedicating them for public purposes.
T30.
T 2022, an ordinance accepting certain street improvements located in Hampton Place subdivision, phase 3 and 4, and dedicating them for public purposes.
On to third readings. T5.
T 2022, an ordinance establishing the police station debt service bond retirement fund.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Reeves.
motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause to T5.
Second.
We're in the process of going through the bond rating conversation with Moody's, and in order to have everything in place for the sale of these bonds, we're going to need to add the emergency clause to both T5 and T6.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to add the emergency clause to T5 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On that emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries, seconded by Avens to adopt T5 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, first please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Avon,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig. Yes. DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously and becomes 59-11, 2022.
And T6.
T6, 2022, an ordinance establishing the police station construction fund.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Raven.
move to adopt.
Second.
President,
Yes,
move
Mr.
to
Mayor.
add the emergency clause to T6 for the same reasons as T5.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor, seconded by Avens to add the emergency clause to T6 for the reasons stated earlier by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by Avens and seconded by Swing to adopt T6 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, but please call the roll.
Swain,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Avon,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig. Yes. DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yeah.
The motion carries unanimously and becomes 59-12, 2022.
Okay, the next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, March 7th, 2022 at 7 PM here in City Council Chambers. Are there any final comments or questions this evening? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.